Mr. Miller, I'm sorry, quick question. From the time you guys started talking, Bear Stearns stock has fallen more than 38%. Would you still buy more?
Yeah, sure. Of course I'd buy more. Why not?
Boom!
Welcome to the Bread and Thorns podcast.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Bread and Thorns podcast, a bi-weekly podcast where we sit down and discuss literature, art, media, and other stuff we really like and how they influence the projects we're working on. I'm Isaac.
And I'm Rosemary.
And today we're going to discuss The Big Short.
Woo!
This movie came out in 2015, and it is according to Wikipedia, it is a biographical comedy drama filmed and directed by Adam McKay. I've never seen any Adam McKay movies prior to this movie, and so he's famous for stuff like Anchorman 2. I don't know any of the other ones really off the top of my head. I think he did like SNL skits before as well.
He did some really good stuff. I haven't watched any of his movies either, but I've seen different scenes and parts, and I know what his directing style is usually like.
Is this very much his kind of
style?
This
is very different, actually. He actually put some different things out there to kind of show off some of his other skills rather than it just being a comedic piece.
I appreciate that because
really cool.
I watched this movie and I was impressed with the direction and everything like that, but it didn't make me want to watch any of his other movies. You know, like if you really like Guy Ritchie and if you watch a Guy Ritchie movie, you're like, oh, I really want to watch this style again. But with this one, I just really, really liked this particular film. And so for our listeners, of course, Rosemary and we're going through our top 10 movies that we each like. My top 10 is going to be different from Rosemary's top 10, obviously.
He gets very interesting about my top 10, so
interesting is a nice way to put it.
So I do it like I think pretty much every movie in his top 10 I either genuinely like adore or I'm very intrigued by them at the very least. So I do respect his top 10.
But then on the other side,
cannot say the same about mine. It's
so
kind
far,
of amusing.
What's great is that most of your top 10 I actually haven't seen, which I find really refreshing. Right. So when we get to a movie that you like. And I haven't seen it. I'm actually looking forward, despite the experience so far, I'm still looking forward to watching these movies.
He still has hope that there'll be something of mine he likes.
The thing is that we do have a couple of movies on our list that are the same, and they're of the movies that I have seen in your list. The ones that I have seen, I do genuinely like, although, of course, I wouldn't put it necessarily in the top 10. And then there are the couple of ones that we do both have in our top 10s. And so, there is hope. There certainly is hope.
And I'm holding out for, like, two of mine that he hasn't seen that I'm like, no, I hope. I feel like he'll think these are good movies. Not, like, necessarily his top 10 quality, but, like, it'll at least, like, restore some respect.
Well, when we went over, Princess Bride, right?
I was so heartbroken.
You were disappointed with my reaction.
So, did you tell your friends that recommended it to you? Did you tell them that you didn't like the movie?
No.
You need to, because you need more people to shame you for how much you didn't like it.
I mean, but like just like we said in that episode, I understand how people can like that movie, but
only out of nostalgia, not because you think it's a good film.
Well.
Come on.
We
both work on being really honest here, okay?
I was trying to put it in a nicer way, but there's no nicer way to have
there
that.
isn't. Anyway, I love it enough for the both of us, so that's okay. With this movie, both of us really, really love this movie, so it's really, really cool to get into it. Plus, it has an amazing cast, so even if you especially if you haven't seen it, just for the cast, because each of the actors is so amazing, and they all bring something to the table that usually, for most of them, it's not a normal character for them to play.
Right.
And so it's really fun to watch them.
What's really interesting is that Ryan Gosling is in this film, but he doesn't act like Ryan Gosling. I thought, actually, the first time I saw it, I thought he was Ryan Reynolds. Because his personality is so sarcastic and so kind of
So, you haven't
sad.
seen Crazy Stupid Love?
No,
his
I
character.
haven't.
So it's something where like, so I watched that movie with a friend. It's one of her favorite movies, and it was something where it was a really cute movie. I was so impressed.
But he was this character in that movie.
It was very similar.
Okay.
It was, but I've never seen him perform anything else that was even close to that. So
Right.
those are the only two. These are the only two roles that he's like this in that I've like seen him be this skeptical.
Right.
But this one, I feel like this character is definitely a little bit more heartless. So it was definitely a little bit more.
Yeah, it was more like world weary, right? He was just
jaded. A
jaded,
very,
yeah.
very jaded character. The other character, so in the other movie, he's very, very jaded.
Okay.
But he's still like a little bit of a romantic, just a little bit. He's given up on it, but it's there.
Okay.
It's buried in there. With this one, he's just like, no, this is all gonna go to hell in a handbasket.
Right.
And I'd like to make some money selling that handbasket. Let's go.
Yeah. My first impression of Ryan Gosling is Remember the Titans. Yeah.
Oh,
So that's
okay.
what I remember him from
Okay.
most of the time. I
Interesting.
recently went back to watch that movie, and he's just like this skinny
Yeah.
teenager, and I
Yeah.
was like, this is Ryan
Yeah.
Gosling.
It's great.
That's pretty great.
It's a beautiful contrast.
So for those who don't know or haven't seen The Big Short, well, spoiler alert, because we're going to be spoiling this movie quite a lot.
Again, you should know by now, spoilers are
Right.
gonna happen because we love it, and we can't not tell you why we love it.
But again, if you're older than 12 years old, you've experienced this movie because you've gone through the 2008 financial crisis, or 2007-2008 financial crisis, which we now know as the quote unquote Great Recession that happened, where the
Fun
mortgage
times.
bond market kind of crashed the entire global economy. And so this movie is about that. It's based on a book called The Big Short: Inside the Doomsday Machine by Michael Lewis. But this movie kind of takes that, takes that premise and kind of brings a very cinematic quality to it.
Well, it's also something where, like, honestly, one of the cool things about watching this movie for me was the fact that, like, when this movie came out, I was 11. And so it's something where I genuinely had no idea what was going on.
Oh,
I
yeah,
just
sure.
knew that like money was
That's
not
true.
a
So
thing
you should
anymore.
probably be like 15
so
or
like,
older to have
yeah,
experienced
so
it.
I knew what was happening, but even until I watched this movie, I had no idea why.
Right. Yeah.
And so it was something
I
where
think that was
yeah.
a lot of people though. A
Yeah.
lot of people understood like 2007, 2008 something bad happened.
Yeah.
But no one really
Knew.
knew
Well,
what.
that's why
happened.
these guys were the guys who made the
Right.
money, is they were the only ones who actually knew what was going on.
Right. And so this movie really kind of brings that tragedy into the forefront, I think,
Yeah.
and helps us to helps make finances, helps make business, helps make banking,
Yeah.
helps make. There you go. Sorry,
Yeah.
I kept saying makes.
No, you what?
Helps make banking. That sounds so weird. It makes banking. It makes banking very palatable for
A lot easier
like,
to
the average
comprehend.
person,
Yeah.
And I mean, it doesn't hurt that you have these, these side cameos with like Margot Robbie.
Oh yeah.
We have what are the other cameos that we have here? We
There's
have,
Selena Gomez.
Oh, yeah, that's right, Selena
Anthony
Gomez.
Bourdain. I actually had no idea
I
who
didn't know who
Anthony
he was.
Bourdain.
I didn't know who he was
I
either
didn't
prior
even
to
know. I was just
watching
like,
this
what's
movie.
going on with this? And then,
Yeah.
I don't remember who the other one. There was another one. Maybe like Billy Magnuson. I don't remember. So there was a fourth one. There was
were
another
quite a lot,
dude.
and I'll probably get to them when we go through it.
Yeah.
My first time watching this movie was with a kind of a friend of mine, a friend and mentor of mine, and I was just visiting him, and he just asked me, "Hey, do you want to watch this movie?" And I was like, "Sure." I didn't know what it was about, and we just sat in his little living room, and we watched this movie on. It wasn't even like a big TV screen or anything. We just kind of sat there and watched. I think I was in a gaming chair, one of those really comfortable gaming chairs that just like kind of leans
See,
back.
that's the reason why you like the movie. You just associate comfort with it. That's all.
Whoa,
Comfort and knowledge.
Comfort and this
knowledge.
movie do
Comfort
not
and
did
knowledge.
not coincide. No, I think for me, when I watched this movie, it was the very first time that I realized what movies can do with a very, very abstract and very difficult subject
Okay.
matter. Because I was also at that point in time, I knew that housing had crashed the global economy, but I didn't know how. Right? I didn't know how does people buying houses or not buying houses? I didn't know. Right?
Yeah.
How does that affect
the entire world.
economy? Like,
Yeah.
the entire world too, right? Yeah. And so I had no idea, and I just kind of knew it was a, you know,
It was important. It was big.
Right.
But
Mortgage
not
crisis was like the big word
on the
or
periphery,
whatever,
though.
but I didn't know what it was. And so I watched this movie, and every part of it just sucked me in.
Yeah.
And it was kind of, first, it was actually the emotion of it that I was surprised by. I was very drawn into the movie, and I felt the crisis in a way that
it's
when
a
I was
movie that
younger,
makes
I
you
could-
feel things.
Right. Yeah.
Like it's a really good movie because especially about this, because most movies that are telling you about like an event, usually their goal is to inform you and to give you information because they think that you wouldn't have it without the movie. This movie is they're trying to get you to like emotionally understand.
Yeah.
It's not just a head knowledge. It's not just to like, oh, I'm intellectually understanding what's going on. It's emotionally understanding the catastrophe that happened.
Yeah. I think with this movie, it draws that because of the characters that are in it. And of course the actors, like Christian Bale's in this, Steve Carell is in this, right? Oh, we mentioned Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt is in this.
He was actually one of my favorites.
Yeah, me too. When he
Wasn't
popped up on
expecting
screen,
it.
I was like, "Whoa, this is Brad Pitt!"
Yeah.
And then, "Whoa, this is Brad Pitt!" Like,
Yeah.
you know, he's actually acting this thing.
At the moment, like when I saw him, I was like, man, that guy looks a lot like Brad Pitt. Like I was like, it didn't actually hit me that it was Brad Pitt until I was like, no, like this is just a really good actor who looks a lot like Brad Pitt.
Right.
And then I was like, oh my god, because this sounds really dumb, but I hadn't actually seen a movie in like my adult life with Brad Pitt where he was actually being a good actor. He wasn't just being Brad Pitt in a movie.
Right.
And so it was so weird. Like my favorite Brad Pitt movie is Mr. and Mrs. Smith with Angelina Jolie. Like that was
Really?
legitimately like one of my favorite movies with him.
I don't remember that
And
movie.
it's
I
so
know I watched
entertaining
it, but I
because the
don't
whole
remember it.
premise of the movie is just like they got married. They didn't tell each other that they're both spies / assassins / whatever the heck they are. And then when both of their companies realize that they're the couple that's married is actually assassins, they assume that they're working together to take down both companies.
I
And
don't
so
remember that part at
both companies try to take out the married couple. And it's just a movie of this married couple getting closer together and actually learning about each other and just kicking butt. And it's great.
Wasn't that a remake?
Probably.
I think it was a remake. I don't remember.
I don't know.
We'll have to
Probably.
look that up.
It was a movie that I watched growing up, and I loved the movie, and it was fabulous. Anyway, but so to actually see Brad Pitt act, and it's not just Brad Pitt, it's this character.
Right.
And then I loved the character.
Yeah, it was
and I was like, whoa.
It was one of the few characters, and let's I guess we'll save that a little bit. But just to kind of save on the suspense, not that there's much suspense, but this movie is on my top 10,
Yes.
but not on Rosemary's.
I really heavily considered it, and then I was like, I can't.
Right.
Because it's a movie that, like, I don't want to watch it over and over and over again. I definitely want to watch it again before I die. Like it's a really, really, really good movie.
Are you planning
But-
on soon, like it's gonna happen soon? Your death is gonna
No,
happen soon?
but I take life and death as it comes, and we'll see what happens.
Oh, dear.
Anyway, but
Oh dear.
yeah, but it's not my movie. My movie list is something that like I want to actively like watch. Like I watch these movies multiple times throughout the course of a year, like multiple times. Big Short. I think I could be safe watching it once a year, maybe once every other
Really?
year. Like when somebody wants to watch it or when somebody wants to like learn about this, I'm like, oh, this is an amazing movie. You should watch this movie. Like it's a movie I would definitely recommend, but it's not something I'd repeatedly watch all the time.
What's fascinating is that this movie for me is one of the ones that I would watch over and over. I remember, I think it was just last month that we, Cher and I, we were kind of looking through movies to watch, and I go down this list of movies in my
that's
like
funny.
thing, and I was like,
Okay.
let's watch The Big Short, and she was like, we
Aw.
just watched that. I was like, no, we only watched it like a month ago or 2 months ago.
Okay, that's
So-
cute. All right.
So, but this is one of those movies that I do find a lot of entertainment in.
yeah.
Just kind of sitting back as a good movie. But then, of course, there is the part. It is a tragedy.
Yeah.
And the movie is a tragedy.
Again, it doesn't like it has a very twisted happy ending because
Yeah.
technically they make money, but nobody's really happy about the money they made. Not even Ryan Gosling's character. He's not happy. He's just like, hey, I made money. Like,
Right.
cool. It's not-
He says
yeah.
literally, I can feel you judging me at the
Yeah.
end of the movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of those fourth wall breaks. I think that was one of the things that also kind of piqued my interest with this movie. Fourth wall breaks are very, very rarely done in cinema, and a lot of times they're not done well, right? They're mostly done in children's movies, right, with cartoons
Yeah.
or animations or anything and things like that. But they're very rarely done in live action films,
Especially
because it's
a more
so,
serious movie.
yeah, it's so hard to pull off, right? It's so awkward when you have that fourth wall break. But this movie, being the tongue-in-cheek kind of setup that it had from the very beginning, when it comes, or every single time it comes, it's either really funny or really informative, which I really enjoyed a lot.
Part of what the fourth wall breaks. So my favorite comic book character is Deadpool. Okay, he's technically not a superhero, so he's not my favorite superhero, but he's my favorite comic book character, and so it's something where
He's technically a superhero, right?
no, he's an anti-hero.
Super
He's
anti-hero.
solidly anti-hero. He is
Anti-superhero.
not.
He's pretty super though.
He is definitely superhero. He can't.
So
he
he's
can't
super
die.
anti-hero,
Like
right?
death is in love with him. Like
Or
it's just this is a thing. Anyway,
super,
but
super something.
he's amazing and I love him. But it's something where with this movie it was very reminiscent of like if Deadpool were to narrate the 2008 housing crisis, like this, he would totally like have dressed up in all these characters and then proceeded to do exactly what they did.
But wouldn't he be Ryan Gosling's character? Like if it had to be one character, that would be the one, right?
I feel like actually he'd have more fun doing Mark Baum.
Mark
I
Baum.
feel like it would have changed several things, and it would have changed
But
who
in
the
terms of
narrator
the
was.
fourth
But
wall breaks, in terms of the
yes.
sassy like character traits and everything.
Yeah,
like that, it would definitely
Jared, Ryan Gosling's character is definitely more irreverent and definitely has more fourth wall breaks and is definitely the narrator, and that's usually Deadpool's role.
Right.
I feel like there's a reason why Ryan Reynolds is Deadpool and not Ryan Gosling though, and so I'm just like,
well,
part of me is like, I can't say.
You never know.
That works.
Have you seen? It was very recently released. Have you seen this deep fake? Do you want to you know what a deep fake is, right? It's like when someone takes AI and they replace someone's face or someone's voice with someone else's face and voice on a video. Someone replaced Captain America. What's his name? Chris Evans.
Yeah.
He replaced Chris Evans with John Krasinski. And it looks
Interesting.
extraordinarily convincing. It looks extraordinarily convincing. Obviously, the voice is not, because John Krasinski's voice is very, very different from Chris Evans' voice.
Yeah.
But the facial features of everything, it's very, very,
interesting.
It's eerie, actually. It's a little bit eerie.
Okay.
I was very impressed by it, even though. But then
like,
in the
no,
back of my head, I'm like,
not.
this is supposed to be scary, right?
This is supposed to be scary. Why is it supposed to be scary?
Because you're able to take anyone's face and just replace it.
Well, yeah, but we've known that that's possible for a while.
Yeah,
it hasn't been popular like till now, but it's totally been like.
But isn't that
doable.
scary? Like if you put your face out there and then someone can just take your face and put it on something else and say you said this thing, right?
Okay, two things. One, I feel like this is a dangerous rabbit hole to get into on here. The short side of number two that I'll say is the fact that.
Man, your paranoia really ticked up really fast.
Well, no, because it's something where like there are cameras literally everywhere. Like if there aren't cameras, there's cameras near the areas where there aren't cameras. Like there's cameras and places people can get your face literally anywhere. Right. And so it's something where now I've grown up with this. I've grown up with the sense that there is always something watching, and there are so many horror movies that are dedicated to this feeling that everyone has because there's so many cameras and everything everywhere that it's like one of those things that you can either be scared by the fact that AI could kill us all or be really beneficial. You could be scared by the fact that people can steal all of your information and destroy your life or not. You could be scared by all these things, or you can just accept that this might be a part of life, and then you move forward as best as you can without having to have that be the main focal point of your life.
Right. I think my inclination for AI is that it's by itself, it's not going to be the thing that destroys the world. It's just it's the people behind it that are using it, right? Well, so it's not like some AI decided to deep fake John Krasinski into Chris Evans' face. Well, it's someone behind it. Like, not that I'm saying he was being malevolent or anything. It's actually really, really well done. You should go watch it. It's really,
I'll probably
really
look it up after.
Yeah. So let's get back on subject. Okay, it's really interesting.
It is really interesting.
For The Big Short,
the movie.
The movie stars, as we said, Christian Bale, Steve Carell, Ryan Gosling, Brad Pitt, and a bunch of other different people. But those are kind of our main characters.
Are the Finn Wittrock and John Magaro, who play Jamie and Charlie, who are like the innocent, naive, little adorable, like 20-somethings who are like, let's make money. We can manage other people's money. Oh no, we're actually not that big.
And these characters that they play, they're kind of going through this crises in different ways. But these guys are actually the ones that benefit from these crises. Yeah. Right. And so that kind of makes the movie a little bit interesting in that it's not from the perspective of those who are hurt by it. It's not from the perspective of those who are perpetrating it either, right? It's kind of these people that are in the middle, and
Well, it's the people. They're the only people with their eyes open.
right, they're kind of looking for these. They're not looking for disasters because as we found out with the Brownfield Fund and everything, they kind of just happened on this.
Yeah.
Deal. Same thing with Steve Carell's, Mark Baum,
Yeah.
Mark Baum's character, where it was a mistake, right? If I remember correctly, it was Ryan Gosling's character, Jared Vanette. He made a wrong call into their little studio, and he was trying to search for somebody else, but then he even so, it's a lot of this kind of part of it was, of course.
Oh no! Wait, didn't he make it? No, he made it look like a wrong call, right, to get their interest?
No, it was
an
a
actual
wrong call.
Okay,
it was
never
an
mind.
actual wrong call because
no
he did this kind of fourth wall break.
Cool.
And it just, it works,
beautiful.
but it was really well done. But it was a fourth wall break, and then he explained these lucky guys. That's right. These lucky guys got it out of a missed call, right?
Yeah.
And so
Okay.
they're going through this whole period where the economy, basically they predict that the economy is about to crash because of unsafe mortgage bonds that were going to default, right? And so there's a lot of
Oh, but basically what they explain, the short version is that you have all these mortgages that have been granted to people who may or may not be able to actually pay their mortgage.
Right.
And so it's something where this industry was for 30 years super solid because of course you're going to pay your mortgage. Of course you're going to do this. And so they all started falling asleep at the wheel because they're like, everybody's going to pay for their house. And then you have all these people with really, 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 really bad credit scores, really bad jobs. Some of them are on welfare, that they just have 3-story houses, and you're like, how? And so instead of
you see these mansions in Florida and everything there,
but because these people are making all this commission money off of these people being approved for these loans, they just keep making money.
Yeah.
And they just keep going, and then they keep repackaging these loans that are about to die, and they're like, oh, actually we can resell them to someone else and kind of make it someone else's problem while kind of also keeping it ours and not really ours. And they basically make it confusing, and they basically make a ton of money off of lying to people, even their own coworkers, just to make sure that they're able to not. It's kind of like in the Roaring _20s and whatnot, the golden years, where the idea is that everything's covered in gold.
I think this is exactly the what is it called, the Roaring '20s.
Yeah.
A depiction of that, right? And so
everything's covered in gold.
Yeah,
but
from
underneath
that
it's just
era, we
cheap
get
and
stuff like
sad.
The Great Gatsby.
Yeah.
And then this is kind of in that same vein, although this is real, right? This is almost, I think it is considered a biographical picture.
Yeah, no, it is.
Because it's based on real people who actually went through this. But it's not, it's based on it, but so there are some fictionalized elements
some
about
obvious
it.
exaggerations because
and they admit some of the exaggerations in the movie, which I appreciate. But just as you were explaining that, it made me realize just how much you learn just by watching this movie. Because when you
in a fun way,
right, in a really fun way. If we were to talk about default rates and mortgage bonds and all these different things to people who have never seen this movie and have no idea of what the mortgage crisis was, they would probably be a little bit like, what are you talking about? They would be thinking, you've
researched a lot about this.
Right.
You must know things.
But no, we just watched this
a movie.
And this movie was really good at conveying these concepts.
Without condescending too much. I know some people who genuinely were a little bit bothered by the cameos. They wish that Ryan Gosling's character kind of had just done the explanations. It would have been fun and enjoyable for him to just do them. I personally thought the cameos were fun.
Right.
But someone pointed out that it also dates the movie because it's something where later on, 10, 20 years from now.
Who's Selena Gomez?
Why is Selena Gomez so popular, or why is Margot? Now, I fully think that they're both still going to be pretty popular, but not as popular, or it won't make as much sense why they were in this movie.
Well, I think the idea is still there, though, right? Because when you have Margot Robbie in a hot tub, you don't really need to know that she's a famous actress, right? You just need to know
Could
that
just think
she's just
pretty
a very
girl who's
pretty
just- yeah.
girl who's in a hot tub. I'm going to listen to her, right?
That works.
Same thing with, I think it was Anthony Bourdain.
He's visually showing you, here's what
Right.
I'm doing with
He's the
my
cook,
food
yeah.
in an analogy, so that way you can have a visual representation to help you understand what's going on.
Right, and then when you have Selena Gomez, and I now have this guy's name, Richard Taylor, or Thaler. Taylor, I'm pretty sure it's Taylor, Richard Taylor.
No.
And I mean, I don't know who Richard Taylor is, right?
I
But
still don't think I know who Richard Taylor is.
that's okay, but that's okay, right? When they
Yeah.
were explaining the,
Yeah.
the
It didn't
part,
matter
it
who
didn't
they
matter,
were.
right?
So that helps.
Yeah. So
yeah.
these people are not Selena Gomez, not Margot Robbie,
Not the cameos.
not the cameos, but Steve Carell, who plays Mark Baum, Christian Bale, who plays Michael Berry, Jared Vanette, played by Ryan Gosling, and then of course Charlie Geller and Jamie Shipley. Those two actors I just can't pull off the top of my head for some reason. Hamish? Is it Hamish?
What?
Linklater? Nope. I'm not gonna be able to do this.
I don't know. Wait.
So
Anyway.
these characters, they're going through this crisis, and they come at it from various points, and they recognize an opportunity to make money with this crisis, and that's kind of the setup of the movie. By the end of the movie, of course, when the crisis has happened and the global economy has crashed, they have made their money. Although they make their money at different points in time, right?
Yeah.
And so, for example, Charlie Geller and Jamie Shipley, I think they're the first ones to cash in, and they get their
think so.
70 or 80 million
Yeah.
with Brad Pitt.
And they're
Oh,
just
yeah,
like,
Brad Pitt.
hey. Yeah.
There's Brad Pitt in this movie as well.
Yeah.
And so, and then Jared also makes his money. I think he gets at around the same time as the Brownfield Fund. And then Christian Bale's character, Michael Burry, he makes his money but it's not even really his money. He makes the money for
Other people.
his investors, which
Yeah.
is I think it's really fascinating to
Yeah.
see that. And then the very last one is Mark Baum, but he's absolutely just torn to shreds emotionally.
I think they
about
also.
it.
I think that's one of the reasons why that's such a good order to show that in, because okay, so in order, because you're also talking about like each of those moments has a part where it's like that's the reason, that was like one of the hooks where I'm like, okay, I really love this movie. So for Jamie and Charlie, the two young naive ones, and Brad Pitt, they're at one point when they're at like that convention, and they're basically talking to all these people, and they're making all of their deals, and it's something where when they finish making their deals, it's something where they're doing this little happy dance, and they're like, yes, we're making money, and they're so excited, which you would be when you were expecting to make millions of dollars, even if you were making like, if someone would be like, hey, you make this deal, I'll give you $2 million, you'd be excited if you made the deal. However, when Brad Pitt and this was my favorite quote, and it's still my favorite quote from the movie, but it's basically,
It's a really good quote. Yeah.
oh, but it's something where he's going through and he's like you want a statistic because he's like, you want the numbers, you want to figure out what this is. Okay, here's some numbers. For every 1% that the unemployment rate goes up, 40,000 people commit suicide.
Yeah.
Like just flat. And the idea is that the with this, I believe, what was it? The unemployment rate was going to go up to 8%. Was that the thing that was 8%, or was that the housing thing?
No, the housing thing. Oh man, I need to look up
Sorry.
the
Anyway,
statistics again.
basically, but with this, if the housing market collapses and you don't have a safe place to have your kids or yourself or food,
I think you're right.
this,
It did go up to 8%.
I think so, and so it's something where like
9%.
unemployment's going to rise when you have these situations, and so it's something where I didn't know that number, and so that number stuck with me. And every person I've recommended this movie to, every time that I've brought up this movie, I've brought up that at least once in the conversation, because it's such a poignant number.
Yeah, it's the shock. It's the shock of the movie when you're. I think especially when you're watching this movie, whether in theaters or just like first time at home, you see all this happening, because the movie is like we were talking about this before. The movie is not just a drama piece; it's a heist movie. It's a disaster film.
It's a comedy as
it's a
well.
comedy,
It's a little bit of everything.
It's all these different things put together, and then you're kind of so entertained. And then when Charlie and Jamie are celebrating,
you kind of feel it with them a little bit.
You feel it with them, right? You're like, they pulled it off finally, and then suddenly
Brad
dropped.
Pitt just like, oh yeah, suicide. It's like, oh shirt.
Yeah.
So
And
anyway,
it's so well done. Just that immediate drop in and soberness of the reality of what's happening, and you get it just as they did. Like when I think it's Jamie, he goes, "Whoa, I just got really scared." You feel that you're just going, "I just got really scared too," because not only is this statistic in there, but it happened.
It's also real.
It's history, right?
This is based off of things that have happened, and
it's real history.
Oof. And especially like with stuff that's going on right now, it's something where so the first time I watched this movie was earlier this year, at Isaac's recommendation, of course. But it was something where I watched this movie, and it was something where then when the whole world kind of collapsed, I was like, oh no. The second that like after the movie, like the ramifications of it kind of hit me a little bit, and I was just like, okay. And
this year we hit 13% unemployment.
Oh,
it's really scary.
And it was at the lowest it's been in
it was at,
years
I think, 3.9
before
or
that.
3.8,
and
it
then
just went
10% increase in 7 months.
Yeah, it's very scary. So.
And it's just anyway, that was scene one of just like I loved the movie before that, but that was the first thing that really hit me where I was just like, this is a good movie, and this is why. Is because it's telling you all these things, and then it also is like, hey, snap out of it. Mm-hmm. Here's the reality of it. And so that was really cool. With Christian Bale's character, so with Michael, it was something where, first of all, I loved his character. I fell in love with his character a little bit.
I completely agree.
The
moment that they had that shot where his eyes were completely apart, I was like, this is awesome.
I was just like, I love you. This is so cool. And then the reading and so I'm in the very, very, very first episode, I think I mentioned that I like sitting barefoot in trees. So the fact that they showed him barefoot, I was like, oh my God. Like it just kept like each thing about him, I was like, I love you. I love you more. I love you more. Just throughout the whole movie. Yeah. But it's something where with his character, it's really, really, really sad. And it's something where he's such a sweetheart.
Yes.
And like Isaac and I talked a little bit before this episode, and something where for me, I was talking about it as like, he's the numbers guy because that's what he's good at. That's what he does. And what Isaac pointed out is that's how his company sees him. Mm-hmm. That's not actually who his character is. And so I hope I'm not taking this away from you because I love that you said this. And I was like, this is one of the reasons why I love him so much is because he's so honest.
Yeah.
That's like the main integral core of his character.
He's a very pure character.
Yeah, and it's just with his job and with how angry and how loud he is sometimes, you forget that there's a purity to that, and it was magnificent, and it was just anyway. And so it's just watching him go through this and watching him being questioned. Like I've done that so many times where I'm like, I'm just trying to tell you the truth. I'm just trying to be honest. And you're telling me that I'm not good at my job, or you're telling me that like, I'm trying to find a way to fail everything. I'm like, I'm just telling you like either this is a fact or this is something that has been based off of experience, based off of like past instances where this has been the case. So I'm just explaining this, and to be attacked for that, to be attacked for telling the truth, it was just so like I felt that viscerally. Like I've been there not in his shoes.
Well, yeah.
But, I've been there and I felt that. And then the idea of this is what and then so Isaac also pointed out, and it was so sweet. But like the thing with the wife, and I'm just like, oh my God.
Yeah.
This is okay. I love you. I'm also kind of a little bit your wife, because I would totally like. It's really, really difficult to find truly, genuinely honest and kind people. Mm-hmm. It's really, really hard. Usually you either get honest or you get kind. You don't get both.
Right.
And or they end up being no, because usually honest people aren't manipulative, because that's not honest. Mm-hmm. And so so it's really, really hard to find like honest and kind people, and his character is just so much that he was, even though Mark Baum's character is definitely the protagonist, and I definitely like understood him. I think Michael's character is probably my like
I would say they're all not made if well, they're all definitely protagonists.
Yeah.
Not necessarily heroes.
Yes.
Right? And I think the movie does a really good job showing that none of these guys are heroes.
They're
no
human.
matter how innocent, no matter how pure-hearted they are, they're not really heroes, because it's not as if they helped people with this. I mean, I guess Michael Burry kind of helped, but that wasn't really the goal.
It wasn't a benevolent helping.
Yeah, it was just I'm making
this
money.
is my job.
Right? Yeah, this is my job. And so even his character is not really
that is actually a really interesting inverse of what normally happens, because it's like, hey, like I just get paid to do this. Like normally that's a really, really negative thing. In this case, it was a negative thing, but in a positive way of like, it's my job to make you guys money.
Yeah.
And so I'm helping you benefit off of the destruction of so much, you're banking in on chaos.
Right.
And it was something where it's just his job. This is just what he gets paid to do. And that was kind of his mindset, is he's fighting this. He's fighting that's true. And that's why at the end of the movie, when he leaves, like that's kind of the point, is he's like, I can't do this. I just, no. Right.
I think at the end there, when he was talking about him kind of meeting his wife and everything like that, like they met. Oh, I have the quote right here. I met my wife on Match.com. My profile said that I'm a medical student with only one eye, an awkward social manner, and $145,000 in student loans.
Oh,
and you're looking at that and you're going, wow, that's a great profile description for yourself. But then he says, she wrote back, "You're just what I've been looking for," right? And she meant honest.
It's just,
you know.
Just imagine putting yourself on blast like that and having someone like just type to you, "You're exactly what I've been looking for." Just like, it's just that's
very
the
sweet.
Dream. It is the dream. It is this long off dream that not never, but very, very rarely happens. And so
it's very endearing.
It's a very sweet part of the movie.
And I think that's even there that's the twist that happens that you were talking about, right? Where he, at the end, he realizes, I have to quit this job because it's making me less human to actually continue to do this.
Well, and that's one of the reasons why, like, Wall Street is notorious, is because it's a classy version of a used car salesman.
Right.
Because
that's what they explained in the beginning, actually, right?
Yeah.
With the whole banking was very boring, and then suddenly banking went from the something club to the strip club or whatever.
Something like that. Yeah. Like the golf. What's a golf club?
No, I don't. Golf club. Golf club's a.
I know, or country club.
Is it country club. I
country
think.
club to the strip club.
Country club to the strip
yeah.
club.
And it's something where, but it's something where, like, most, not all, and they show it in the movie with the main protagonist too, is the fact that in some way they're all selling their souls in order to do this.
Yeah.
They're selling pieces of themselves because for money.
Mm-hmm.
They're choosing money as the most important thing, and they're putting it up on a pedestal, and they're saying, "Hey, this is what I want. This is what I'm going after. Screw everything else."
Right.
And it is heartbreaking. And so it's something where, like, to go through this and watch this movie and just, it makes sense, but it's heartbreaking that just because of very simple greed, it's very simple, it's very understandable, they collapse countries.
Yeah. And one of the things I think you were mentioning before when we were talking with Mark Baum's character, that was the one that you kind of followed through with the most in the beginning. But like his entire character arc, he is introduced as this very nihilistic, narcissistic person,
angry,
very angry. But you get like the exposition for his story is that his something happened with his brother, right? And he gets very angry and tries to kind of find the fraud and the bull crap and everything that he does, you know, including when he was young. He what was it? Found
questioned
issues.
the Torah.
Yeah, questioned the Torah.
He questioned the Torah, which honestly, like, I don't know, any type of faith. I feel like if you're not questioning it just a little bit,
right,
then it's not your faith.
Right. Yeah. It's someone that's
like,
just telling you stuff and you're just going along
exactly.
with it, right?
It's blind obedience. Yeah. And it's something where that's never cool. There isn't a religion or a faith out there that, well, okay, that's not entirely true. There aren't any, like, okay, unless it's classified as a cult somewhere.
Right.
There aren't any religions or faiths that actively encourage blind obedience as a general, like, as an actual principle, like a fundamental principle in the thing. Not the people are different, but the actual center
But I mean,
of
in
it.
a sense, if you're going to ask a mass of people to believe in something, you're going to have people that question you.
Absolutely. And you need to be able to say, hey, you either need to be able to say, I don't know, because that's honest. At least if you don't know, you're being honest. Or you need to actually have something to say. You need to have something honest and true to be able to say to those people who question you.
Yeah. And
if
so
you can't,
in that way, I think Mark Baum's character really kind of he is the character that is often, I think, the one that people relate to the most because of that. They're like, oh, he's questioning the system, and he's being very kind of cynical about everything. And then as his character progresses, one of the biggest tragedies is that the revelation of that he is part of the system, right? Not just even though he puts on this kind of facade, and maybe he believed this facade. I think he did believe this facade.
He absolutely did.
Yeah, that he was trying to beat the system. He was trying to kind of go against the system. But the realization, I'm actually a part of the system, right? When his brother had committed suicide, he talks to his wife, and he's like, I only offered him money. You know, that realization. I'm part of the system. I didn't actually even care for him. I just
didn't ask him how he was doing. I didn't say, hey, what's up? What's actually going on? Let's sit down and talk. Let's go for drinks. Let's figure it out. Like, do you need to come stay with me for a little while? Like, do you need people? What do you need? Like, he didn't do any of that. He was just like, oh, you're feeling bad? All right, here's some money. And again, these type of people, they put money up on a pedestal and make it more important than everything else. Yeah. And it's tragic.
It's
because they're rich
tragic.
Doesn't mean it's any less tragic.
It's very interesting, I think, to just understand that for his character to have that revelation, like even though, you know, in the beginning, I don't know if it was in the beginning or if it was kind of towards the middle of the movie where we see his brother, the implied suicide, where his brother kind of jumps off of this building, and then kind of. At the end of the movie, Mark Baum is sitting on the rooftops of a building. You know, he doesn't commit suicide or anything like that, but it's that contemplation that finally kind of understand
my brother.
Yeah, I understand my brother so much more now. Like, I was part of the system. Like, his closest family member, the one that he reached out to at a moment of vulnerability, I need help. I was part of the system that only said, here's some money. Right. And it's really, I think that's the last shot of the movie of him on that rooftop.
I think so, because then it starts going into the notes about the actual people in the credits.
Yeah. And so in that shot, you just get this, he's the only person up there, right, by himself and contemplating what he has done.
Probably depressed.
Right? Very depressed.
Very.
Yeah. I mean, right before that, his Vinny was calling him. His coworkers were calling him, be like, "Hey, we have to sell, or we're gonna lose all the money."
Yeah.
And he says, "Okay, sell." But that's such a tragic
and
moment.
he takes a while too. He's just like, I don't want to say this. Like, don't make me say this out loud.
Yeah.
Like, and it's that realization of I'm part of him saying, okay, sell it all, is him saying I'm part of the system.
I think it's two
acknowledging.
ways. I think it's acknowledgement that he was part of the system, but also the acknowledgement that just because you don't sell, it's not like you're standing on a moral pedestal if you don't sell, right? Because what was happening? His coworkers were depending on him, right? His bank was the bank that hired him was depending, and so all this stuff was going on, and it's like this kind of, I have to do this. Because either choice is evil, right? There's no choice here that actually is a good choice, right? And so what do I have to do? I have to sell and make money off of this thing.
So my wife can keep surviving, my friends can keep surviving, my coworker, and again, if he has, did he walk away with $1 billion, or was it?
No, the $1 billion was from Michael Burry. I think they sold for $100 million, I believe.
I think it was a little bit more than that, but something impressive. Okay, you could do a lot with $100 million.
Something that we haven't imagined in our
something
lives
that we
yet.
don't have, right? Yet. Anyway,
we have to say yet.
But it's something where he might actually be able to do something with that money. Maybe he's able to help people. Maybe he's able to make like inquiries on like suicide hotlines and stuff, and maybe be able to help like in his brother's memory or something like that, or help his wife and him like reconnect in a more permanent way, so that way they can like move forward together from this. Maybe he can help out the people in his neighborhood and kind of start becoming human again.
I think that's what was really hit me and made this movie one of my top 10 of all time, right? My criteria for my top 10, one of them is a good movie. Remember that? And a good movie, in my sense, is that it has to have a really good message. And I think the first time you watch this, I think it was you. You said you were so depressed
Yeah.
that you couldn't figure out why I thought this was a good movie, or had
I
a
think
good.
so, actually.
Yeah.
I was really, because, okay, so this, again, the reason why I like Mark Baum's character so much as well is because, so, okay.
You mean Steve
I
Carell's
have-
character, Mark Baum?
Oh, damn it. Yes. Sorry. No, Mark Baum's character, Steve Carell.
Right.
Steve Carell,
Steve
is,
Carell is the fictional
portrayed.
character.
He's portrayed by Mark Baum. Anyway, but it's something where I have trust issues and I do not trust authorities,
Right.
which provides a lot of issues in my life. But it's also something where I also have a tendency to be really, really really cynical about, especially authorities. So yeah, when like that scene after the Jenga blocks and whatnot,
Yeah.
and he's like, and Vinny's character is asking him like you just want him to be right.
Yeah.
Like you just,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
he's like, honestly, yeah, I do. Do you know that the government and like everybody in charge has fallen asleep and they're not paying attention.
Right.
Heck yeah, I want it to be right. I get to make money off of it. Like, yes, absolutely. And it was just, I felt that because
Right.
it's something where like you just there's something like
It's
from
so
like
relatable,
oh
I
my
think,
gosh,
to
like for me
everything.
probably like the biggest thing for me is like public education. Like I love learning and to see so many people like just, and I don't have any other word for it, just like screwed over by the public education system into not enjoying learning. Like you're learning,
Right.
you're growing, your brain is expanding, your heart is pounding, and like things are okay, so I feel like I'm
Impounding?
describing.
Did you say impounding?
No, pounding.
Pounding,
But
okay.
like it sounds like, wait, I feel like I'm describing something not good. But just like learning is supposed to be exciting.
Yeah.
That's why like with this movie, like it's a fun movie. Even though it's depressing and dark, it's also fun because you're learning, and it's just it breaks my heart to see so many people my age or younger or older who hated school because of bad teachers or bad funding or bad standards or principles, or like they have to teach a certain way over here and then you mess up everything. And so it's something where if there was a way that I could absolutely topple the public education system and make money off of it, now I would also want to like reinstate something. I would want to do some kind of change. But like honestly, in the beginning, I would be ecstatic. I'd be like, let's go prove this. Let's do this. Let's
Right.
take it out. And then the realization of, okay, what about the kids that are staying home with their parents? Is domestic violence going to go back up? Like,
I think-
what about the kids like that will not have the opportunity to learn anymore because their family literally cannot afford or doesn't have the ability to teach them? Like homeschooling is a dream for me, but for other people, it's a nightmare.
Right.
And so like it's that the kind of thing with this movie and with Mark. And so I just, as he gets angrier and angrier and angrier and realizing just how messed up the system actually is, like he's right, but just the realization of how horribly and horrifically right he is
Right.
was just like I
Well,
felt
it's not
that.
even
and,
like he was like right, because he was right.
Yeah.
But even in being right, he was completely naive about
on the scale
on the scale of the fraudulent
of the
system.
corruption.
And I think that's really fascinating in his character, that
Yeah.
sudden break of
Yeah.
realization, I'm part of the system that I've been trying to fight.
Yeah.
Right? The things that I do will have dire negative ramifications for the very people that I'm working with, right? His friend Kathy, who had just had a kid, right?
Yeah.
That was the course of that story,
Yeah.
right? At the beginning, he was kind of friendly with her, and you realize, oh, she's wanting a kid, right?
Yeah.
And then at the end, when he's sitting at the desk, he sees the photo of the kid and realizes, or not, no, sorry, he sees a breast pump. That's right. In her purse, and he realizes she has a kid. And then when she talks about how in debt and how much Morgan Stanley's going to crash because of this whole thing, he realizes, I've been working against you, right?
Yep.
I'm actually part of the system
That screwed you
that's
over.
screwing you, right? I was trying to fight the system that I thought was screwing me over or my brother over, but I've now become part of that system because I'm now fighting against you as a person.
You thought you were fighting the enemy, and it turns out you were just fighting the
right.
person next to you.
Yeah, and it's such a massive tragedy
Yeah.
in that story. But the good part, I think, that I get inspired by from this movie is in the margins of the movie. And so a lot of times we think about like either righteousness or morality or these various different things in terms of systemic issues. And I think the message of this movie whether the director meant it or not, I think the message of this movie is that every system is wrong, right? No matter what you're trying to do, no matter what system you're trying to prop up, whether you're trying to go against the system or you're trying to go with the system, whatever it is, they're all really screwed up.
Yep.
And there's no moral choice within the system. And so what is the moral choice? It's what, Mark Baum did at the end. It's what Michael Burry did at the end. It's what Charlie did at the end.
Yeah.
It's actually Brad Pitt's character.
Yep.
Right?
Which is why that's such a good character.
It's such a fascinating take.
I still don't get why he got back in it though. That was the
But
thing
he didn't. Right?
He didn't, but he did. It was a very
So that was the mystery of his character, the not understanding, because a lot of times you're again, it's that pitting of you're in the system or you're against the system.
Yeah.
You're for the system or you're against the system, right? And
he kind of
he got out, right? He got out.
Yeah.
And then what was the end at the end? Charlie asks, was it Charlie? Jamie asks him, why did you do this? Like,
why did you help us?
Why did you help us? And he just says, you wanted to make money. Now you've made money. And I
wonder if he wanted to kind of show them just a little bit of what was up.
I mean, he did, right?
That
was very famous
what
quote
happened.
that you had. Yeah.
Even before that, they're starting to kind of learn just a little bit along the way.
Right.
They're learning things, and then they learn the importance of what they've been learning.
Well, they learned the importance of it wasn't really us that made money or the system. We actually had help. Our relationship with this guy was what helped us.
Yeah.
Right. And that I think that realization really it hits on a kind of a subconscious level, right? Where we're not worried anymore about the system, right? Or not, I shouldn't say not worried, but we're not being led by for or against a system, but rather the relationships between people, right? He didn't join in, right?
Yeah.
At the end, he went back into his farm, started growing seeds. I think this time when I was watching it through, I loved just tracking his character because his character comes so late, right?
Yeah.
But he's the moral centerpiece. Right, of the entire story. And so when you track his character through, and at first he's presented as this like kooky, very almost like redneck kind of guy that you would probably label him as this conspiracy theorist. I mean,
I didn't say redneck.
He's right. He's right, but in kind of if you were in the story, you would think he's crazy. Right, yeah. So but he turns out to be this guy who's just there because why? Because he met this guy on a run when they were running and they became jogging buddies and they just
honestly
kept on going.
So sorry, as you've been talking, I'm kind of thinking a little bit and I'm like, I kind of get it because so growing up I always had like a couple of people who would always like look in on me and check in on me because they wanted to like help me out, just let me have someone to talk to. It always felt guided though. It always felt like they were trying to push an agenda on me, which like they probably weren't really, that wasn't their intention, but it was there anyways. And so it's something where for me, like I've done that with several like younger kids who like go to my church or something like that, where I make sure, because I do really care about them, so I pick them because they're special. I pick them because I'm like, hey, you're cool. And then it's also I kind of get the sense of you see where they're going and you know that they're gonna have to go through this anyways, but you want to like be able to give them an alternative perspective while they're there that they wouldn't have if they don't have you there.
Right.
And so it's possible that with this character, and that might be why I like him so much, is because he knows that they're going to try to make money.
Yeah.
He knows that, and if he hadn't been there, they would have done the happy dance. They would have stayed happy. They would have been like, heck yeah, we're making money. And perspective wouldn't have been brought in. Reality wouldn't have been brought in. And they would have become just like everyone else, except they would have also still had money. And they wouldn't have learned anything. And so it's something where he is the moral center, but it's also something where
But he doesn't have an agenda, right?
No. And that's why I like him, is because it wasn't an agenda. It was just simply like, hey, hopefully, like, I can help you guys make money, and hopefully along the way, I can kind of share a little bit of my experience with you. and maybe you'll understand why I got out. Maybe you won't,
Yeah.
but
No, but I
at
think
least
at
it'll
the
be
end
there.
they did understand why he got out.
Yes.
Or at least one of them did, because I think Charlie.
I think they both understood, but one of them was still willing. He's like, okay, maybe I can do something different with it.
Right.
And we don't know.
we don't
We don't know these people.
So, but in terms of just this story,
Yeah.
right? Just this take on what happened.
Yeah.
They do learn.
Yeah.
From that incident. Well, the very famous quote, which is every 1% of unemployment is 40,000 people.
deaths.
Yeah, dead. And just that learning that, and then them asking, wait, you helped us, but we were doing this thing that you really hated. Why did you help us? And his simple answer, without agenda, was, you wanted to make money. Now you have money, right? And it's this very real, kind of very cool, interesting realization. I would say, of the importance of relationships above system, right? That's Mark Baum's character, the importance of relationship above the system, right? That's actually Michael Burry's character as well, because at the end he quits, right? He goes, this is making me less human to actually do this, or I feel less human. I don't want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
I'm going to get out, right?
Well, with that, it's something where, there have several things have come up in my life, and so it's something where one of the most interesting conversations that I've had recently, one of the things I was pointing out is that, and now this is an opinion, okay, but if I were to pick what the highest function of man was, it would be relationship.
Sure. Yeah.
And this movie definitely shows you what that looks like. What when you don't choose relationship as your primary function, instead you choose like making money, or you choose serving people. Well, not even serving people, but there's basically just any other function, and saying it's more important than relationships. You're putting your energy, you're putting your efforts, you're putting your time into the wrong areas.
Yeah.
And so it's just very, very cool with this movie.
Yeah, it's a tragedy that has a good message.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what
all the best tragedies do.
Right. Yeah, all the best tragedies have a good message. And I think that's what makes this movie into that list, right?
Yeah.
Of top 10, where you do again, for most people, I did that first too when I watched this movie. I was struck by the gravity of the situation.
I was angry.
2008 left us in.
Like this is like it was like what 11 years later, and I was pissed off.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, how dare you? And it's also one of those like, and then especially in the end credits, it's like, and everything went back to normal.
Yeah, right.
And it's like, what?
Right. That's the tragedy of the system. Right?
You had a complete disintegration. Okay, not just collapse, just disintegration. Like 9/11 buildings in New York, disintegration. Yeah. And then business as usual.
Yep.
Like, what? Anyway, just
it's really crazy because
I was very upset
when Brad Pitt was in that pub. Right, and he was like, "It smells like sheep." I'm at Wi-Fi at a pub and it smells like sheep. I love that line. And he's talking about how Greece has already fallen.
Yeah.
Spain is going the same way, and actually, even today, it's still happening right now.
Yeah, they haven't completely come out of it
yet. They haven't come out of
They're
it yet.
They're still poor. Well, I don't know about Spain, but I know Greece has a lot of poverty issues.
Yeah, so this is something that the kind of the consequences of this crisis is still happening, right? And it's the what's been shown in the movie is just the beginnings of the disaster.
Yep.
But again, the realization that the system will. They do a little bit, right, with the guy who had a house, right, and then now his family is homeless, living in the
very little
the van, and then you have the pictures of the tents of homelessness. Yeah. And so that was the other thing. This movie has such really very unique cinematography, but very it's very almost seductive in a sense, because you get seduced into the movie, as Charlie and Jamie are celebrating the path that you've been on. You get sucked into that celebration, right? It's very I can't say anything other than it's very seductive.
Immersive.
Yeah, it's very immersive.
It's immersive.
Yeah. But I would actually quantify that as seductive.
Interesting.
Because at
It
the
definitely
end,
pulls you in. It definitely does draw you in.
but then at the end you get these flashing pictures of the homeless in tents and in vans and everything like that, and then the bankers still in their suits and in their rich companies or whatever, and the contrast between that, and it's again the idea of this evil system will only perpetuate itself, right? So what's the solution? Well, the solution isn't go against the system, try to tear it down. The solution is human relationships, right? No matter how small the impact is, although these guys got $80 million.
That's true. That's definitely
that's
a
quite
nice
large.
That's a nice impact. That's a solid.
But, no matter how small the gesture is, it's about the relationships. And I think that's what kind of, in a sense, redeems Mark Baum's decision at the end, where he goes, okay, sell it, because I understand you guys are,
my relationships. You're the people that I need to care for.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to care for you.
Yeah. And so...
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's such a good movie.
It is a really good movie.
It's such an intense... Wait, so where is it in your top 10,
It
Isaac?
is my number... my number 7.
Woo!
Yeah. And so now we've gone through
If we had confetti, it'd be falling and you wouldn't hear it, but confetti...
Right. You can't hear confetti. You can hear the pop, right? The pop for the celebration.
That's true.
Maybe we should bring some of those. But so we have gone through my 10th movie, which is The Matrix, and my 7th movie, which is this one, The Big Short.
Yeah.
And then for you, we've gone through...
Oh, don't do this to me. Princess Bride was number 4, and then Palm Springs was number 10.
All right, so 4 and 10 for you, and 7 and 10 for me. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite
All right,
exciting.
so is it my turn to pick?
I believe it is your turn
It
to
is
pick.
my turn to pick, so
and
we'll do
draw from
this.
the hat.
We'll do this, and then give me here. Oh, you're gonna.
I
You get to shake
get
it.
to do this.
He
I
gets
get
to
do the
shake the hat.
shaking.
Yeah. You need to like toss it a little because they're just
They
just
just stay in the same place if I do that.
they're folded, so they kind of like collapse in on each other. So
All right. So you ready?
it's really fun paper, guys. Okay, just shuffling and things.
And the movie is...
Oh my god! Yeah! Okay, sorry. It's Tropic Thunder. I'm really
Tropic
excited,
Thunder.
guys. I was
Sweet.
genuinely like at the beginning of this episode, I was like, I really hope the next one's Tropic Thunder. Like,
Oh,
it's
really?
probably not gonna be that one. So
When
that's
you
why I was
picked
like,
it.
I'm like, yes.
Wow, prophetic.
Oh, yay. Just I don't know, your beliefs create your existence, and apparently my hand knew what was going on. But
Yeah, so
yes.
Tropic Thunder. So the next movie that we're going to be doing for the next episode is going to be Tropic Thunder. And yeah, that leads us to our dime segment.
Yeah. So with the dime segment, because I had a lot of fun with this one. So this one's just a joke on like rich people, because this movie took a lot of money and then gave money to other people.
Is it a quote
And
or is it a joke? Oh, it's a joke.
And
Okay.
I'm very pleased with it. And like I sent it to several of my friends when I found it because I was very pleased.
Okay.
Anyway, okay, so
Prepare.
prepare.
Listeners,
Prepare
prepare.
yourselves. I really hope some of you groan, and I really hope some of you laugh. Anyway, okay, so the joke is, my friend drove his expensive car into a tree and found out how his Mercedes Benz.
That is pretty good.
It's so good. It's so good. Anyway, but no, it's just, I don't know why, but that one just, it made me kind of think of this one just a little bit. And just for fun, just for fun. So, cause I found them both at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
The other one is, atheists don't solve exponential equations because they don't believe in higher powers.
Oh, wow.
Sorry, if you can't tell and haven't told yourself something along these lines already, I adore puns.
Right.
They make my life better and more full, and they're just
Are
they're
all our
great.
jokes going to be puns?
No, I know how to diversify. It's gonna take me a lot. Anyway.
Well,
Yeah.
hopefully no one has a Mercedes that's bend or
Oh.
bends.
Hopefully you don't have a
Bends.
Mercedes that bends that way.
That way.
Hopefully you're gonna be
Don't
okay.
hit a tree. It's not going to
Yeah.
make you any money.
Yeah, no. Money does not technically grow on trees, though you can buy a money tree. Because it's
What's a
type
money?
of plant. There's actually a
okay.
plant that's called a money tree, and it has like these like just really fat green leaves that
Mhm.
it doesn't look like money at all, but it's called a money tree. It has this really cool
Interesting.
spiral pattern on the bark. It's
Does
really
it bear
pretty.
fruit that...
I don't think so.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure it's just a plant with
Okay.
leaves.
and the leaves don't taste like anything.
I haven't tried eating them, so I can't tell you. I can either confirm or deny.
The question would be if we take the leaves off of the money tree and you sell them, would it be worth more than a Zimbabwe dollar?
Oh, that's tragic. I don't know. It depends on if it has like health value, I guess. if you can eat it, it's probably better.
Then it would really be a money tree.
But if it doesn't have any health value, nutrition value, there we go. If it doesn't have any nutritional value, then the Zimbabwe dollar still counts a little bit more because you can burn it for warmth.
Oh dear God. All right, with that note, thank you, listeners, for sticking with us for about an hour. We can't wait to see you guys next time when we're going to talk about Tropic Thunder. I've been Isaac.
And I'm Rosemary.
And we'll see you guys next time.
We back.
Don't do that. Stop. Stop that. Charlie. Oh! Stop it. Stop. What? Do you have any idea what you just did?
Oh, come on, we just made the deal of our lifetimes. We should celebrate.
You just bet against the American economy.
Fuck yeah, we did.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Which means if we're right, people lose homes, people lose jobs, people lose retirement savings, people lose pensions. You know what I hate about fucking banking? It reduces people to numbers. Here's a number. Every 1% unemployment goes up, 40,000 people die. Did you know that?
No.
Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
We were just excited, you know. Just don't fucking dance.
All right.
Where are you going? Whoa, I just got really scared.